It was in the dead of night when Ibrahim Traore's life was about to change forever. The whispers had been haunting him for months, but he had no way of knowing how deep the betrayal ran. All he had were memories. Memories of a sister he never knew he had. And those memories had the power to destroy everything. Ibrahim could feel his pulse quicken, the darkness outside reflecting the storm of thoughts racing inside his mind. He had always been a man of duty, a leader forged in the fires of battle. Yet the discovery of a sister he had no memory of, no record of, felt like an intrusion into a life he had long believed to be his own. It was a curse, a puzzle he had no intention of solving. But deep down, something told him he had no choice. The streets of Ouagadougou were unusually silent that night. The usual hum of the city was absent, leaving an eerie stillness in the air. A cool breeze whispered through the narrow alleys, but Ibrahim didn't feel its comfort. The weight of the truth hung over him like a dark cloud, and the flickering streetlights cast long shadows on the road ahead, distorting the world around him. Every step he took felt like a step further into the unknown, and his mind raced trying to piece together the fragments of information he had gathered. He had never known family. Raised in an orphanage, his memories of his childhood were as scarce as the affection he had received. He had always been alone, or so he thought. He had built a life from the ashes of his past, rising through the ranks to become the man he was now, a leader of his people. But now, with every passing minute, the silence seemed to mock him. The voice on the other end of the encrypted line had shaken him, but it had also ignited a spark within him, a hunger for the truth, no matter how devastating it might be. The message had been simple, yet its implications were vast. Your sister is still alive. Ibrahim stood frozen for a moment, the words echoing in his ears like a thunderclap. His heart pounded in his chest, and for a moment everything else seemed to fade away. He had no sister. He had no memory of anyone who could be his family. The past he had built, the life he had constructed with the blood, sweat, and tears of his struggle, all seemed meaningless now. Was this some sort of cruel joke? A trick played by his enemies to throw him off balance, or was it the truth? His mind raced, and with each passing second the weight of the unknown bore down on him harder. He had to know more. The room he had been sitting in felt suddenly claustrophobic, the walls closing in around him. Ibrahim had faced wars, coups, and political betrayals. But this was different. This was personal. This was his past coming back to haunt him. Without a second thought, he grabbed his jacket and left his apartment, the cool night air rushing past him as he walked the streets. The city seemed to hold its breath, as if even the buildings were waiting for him to uncover the truth. The safe house was on the outskirts of the city, a place of darkness and secrets, far from the prying eyes of the world. As he approached the house, he couldn't help but feel the gravity of what was at stake. If this woman, this stranger who had reached out to him, spoke the truth, everything he knew, everything he had fought for, was about to change. The door creaked as he entered the safe house, and he found himself face to face with a woman whose face was shadowed in the dim light. She didn't seem like the typical informant, not the hardened mercenary or the political pawn Ibrahim was accustomed to dealing with. There was something delicate about her presence, something almost fragile in the way she stood there. But it was the eyes that caught his attention, the deep, haunted eyes that held a depth of knowledge, a story that had been buried for far too long. Ibrahim, she whispered, her voice soft yet steady, as though she knew exactly what was coming. I'm sorry. Her words hung in the air like a confession. Your enemies knew of her, and they knew that finding her would be your undoing. His pulse quickened as he stepped closer, the air between them thick with unspoken truths. Who is she? Why was she hidden from me? His voice was low, the weight of the question heavy in his chest. The woman stepped forward, pulling a photograph from her bag. It was a picture of a young girl, no older than 10, standing in front of a dilapidated house. The girl's eyes were wide with innocence, her expression somber as she gazed into the camera. There was something painfully familiar about the girl, something Ibrahim couldn't place. "This is your sister," the woman said, her voice trembling slightly. "She was taken long ago." Ibrahim's world tilted. His body stiffened, and his mind raced as he tried to make sense of what she was telling him. A sister? But how could this be? He had no memory of her, no recollection of any family. His heart began to pound in his chest, and for the first time in his life, he felt a deep, gnawing emptiness. His entire existence had been built on a foundation of strength and self-reliance, but now it felt like everything was crumbling. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" he demanded, his voice rising with a mix of anger and confusion. "Why was she kept from me?" The woman hesitated, as though she too were afraid of what would happen if the truth came to light. "Because they knew you would stop at nothing to find her. They knew you would be unstoppable once you learned the truth. And that's why they kept her hidden. As leverage." Ibrahim's hands clenched into fists, his knuckles turning white. The realization hit him like a blow to the chest. The enemies he had been fighting, the ones who sought to destroy him, had been playing a far deeper game than he had ever imagined. His sister, his blood, had been hidden from him all these years, and he had never known. She had been a pawn, used to weaken him, to break him. It was all coming together now. The political sabotage, the manipulations, the quiet whispers in the shadows. It had all been part of a much larger plan. And he had been the fool. But that was about to change. Ibrahim Traoré was no longer just a leader. He was a man whose family had been stolen from him, and he would stop at nothing to reclaim what was rightfully his. He turned to the woman, his face hardening with resolve. "Where is she?" His voice was low, filled with an intensity that could have shattered glass. "I don't know," she said, her eyes filled with pity. "But there is one person who can help you find her." Without a moment's hesitation, Ibrahim snatched the photograph from her hand, holding it close to his chest. "I don't care who it is," he said, his voice calm yet tinged with fury. "I will find her, and when I do, I will expose every single person involved in this." For the next few days, Ibrahim's world was consumed by the search. Every contact, every ally he had ever known became part of his mission to find his sister. It wasn't just about family anymore. It was about power, betrayal, and justice. Ibrahim knew that finding her would be the key to destroying the network of enemies who had manipulated him for so long. The more he uncovered, the clearer it became. This was no longer just a fight for survival. This was a fight for redemption. The search took him across the darkest corners of the world, through hidden networks and coded messages. Each step brought him closer to the truth, but it also deepened the mystery. His sister had been hidden well. Her existence erased from the public eye, her name scrubbed from history, but Ibrahim's determination was unshakable. He could feel the weight of her absence, the void left in his life, and he would not rest until he found her. And then, just as the dawn began to break, he found her. She was hidden in a small room, on the outskirts of the city, a place where no one would think to look. She was thin, her skin pale from years of isolation, but there was a spark in her eyes, an undeniable fire that mirrored Ibrahim's own. When their eyes met, it was as if the world stopped turning. There was no need for words. The moment was enough. He had found her. "I'm not broken," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "We're not broken. We're becoming." And in that moment, Ibrahim Traoré knew that he had reclaimed not just his sister, but his soul. The journey ahead would be long, but for the first time in his life, he felt whole. If this story touched your heart, consider subscribing for more inspiring tales of hope, healing, and unexpected kindness. Hit the like button and share this with someone who needs it today.